Good evening, everyone. My name is Hunter Brittle, alongside my good friend Elliot Henderson here, ready to bring you all the action live on Split Second Broadcasting. Elliot, we've had one race to settle the dust of the points reset. Who can keep up the momentum as we hit our stride going into the chase?
I'll tell you what, Zach Henry's looking for a bounce-back night, qualified on pole here after being wrecked late at Indy, looking at a podium finish there last week. And you've got the normal contenders of Jared Darling, Mike McConville up front in the top five as well. The interesting point to note is Nathan Jump, Shane Neiswanger, guys that are coming in here either with a points lead or need a good bounce back, are lining up towards the middle of the field, 8th, 9th positions. Jackson Sims back there in 7th, so it'll be interesting to see how those guys tackle tonight with how difficult it is to pass here. But definitely going to be watching up towards the front with Zach Henry, Jared Darling, Mike McConville. Those are the three to watch as far as the playoff contenders moving forward.
You said those two guys, Jump and Neiswanger, starting back towards what we affectionately call the Hornet's Nest here in the Great Lakes Truck Series. That mid-pack can be hard to battle your way out of, yet we've seen it done time and time again over the course of this season, so we'll look for a huge bounce back from them and their qualifying efforts. Like you said, though, going back to the front, Zach Henry, last time we were here, a solid podium finish from him. He really likes this place. It's hard to pass, but once you get in a groove, he just sets sail on this one. So look for Zach Henry to be up front all day. Behind him, Jared Darling as well, one who was solidly inside the top 5 for much of the race here last season. He will be a top contender here for sure.
Yeah, the interesting note, I think, out of all of this is Spencer Owens not qualifying. Not sure if he didn't get a lap in, may have brushed the wall and invalidated his laps, or if he just decided that he's going to start at the back. Regardless, it's, like I said, very, very difficult to pass here, and he will be lining up 20th on the grid. Eric Kepf, among others, Ashton Lawson, 14th and 16th. Back there going to have to come from way towards the back and find their way up towards the front. Ashton's usually good at these types of tracks. Eric has kind of suffered on these mile and a halves. He's been going off strategy and not really he ends up towards the front, but during the middle of the race he hasn't really had the pace to stay up there, so we'll have to see how he tackles this one starting from towards the back as well. But it'll be interesting to see how those guys work their way up and what these guys in that middle group with Shane Neiswanger and Nathan Jump, what they do to try to get themselves up towards the front.
Taking a break from the playoff guys here, we've got one guy up at the front there, Michael Senzi, starting in the 2nd position tonight, looking to play spoiler here in the field of all these playoff drivers. Starting 2nd, a strong qualifying effort from Michael Senzi for this one. Elliot, as team owner, how does he feel about this track going into this one here, knowing that he's around all these different playoff guys, just trying to get a solid finish for himself here among all of this championship race going on?
Well, that whole top row there, that whole top column, I'll say, Sensi, Heller, and Gonzalez are all kind of interesting characters that we bring up on a weekly basis. I haven't really had the runs that I think they all kind of deserve. Sensi, obviously, last week getting brushed up with the guy starting to his inside, Zach Henry, and catching the wall and ruining Sensi. Likely had a top 5 locked up. Zach had a top 3 locked up and completely demolished both of their runs. Heller got involved in the late race carnage as well, and Gonzalez has been unfortunately struck with rough hits every week. But Sensi came into this with honestly very minimal understanding, but he put down fast laps, and I think he's got the confidence to go out there and do it. He's shown week to week that he has the pace to run up front. He just hasn't really been able to put these finishes together, so we'll have to see how he contends here. And this is a very interesting track. There's multiple ways to drive it. You can drive deep into the corner, or you can enter nice and easy and try to save that right front. We'll have to see what these guys do. The truck will build tight throughout the run, so we'll have to see how these guys combat that and how they drive this track as we're going green this time by.
Pace truck dives on the pit road here. We're getting ready to go racing here in Nashville. Who can save tires the best? Who will be there at the end? As Zach Henry's looking for the green flag here. He hits the Geico restart zone and takes the green flag there, fires away. He's going to get clear of Michael Senzi, as Senzi and Jared Darling are going to battle there for that 2nd place position. Give the advantage to the one of Jared Darling as they head off into turn 2.
It's super easy to overdrive the top a little bit. You kind of see Sensi do that, but McConville struggles on the bottom. He's going to give up the spot to Heller and Sensi. That's going to force him 3-wide jump on the inside with Shane Neiswanger on the outside there. Shane's going to try to duck it underneath Jordan Gonzalez. They're still 3-wide. You can already see the aggression coming out. These guys know track position's a big deal as Shane gets turned to the outside wall from Jordan.
Huge impact there for Shane Neiswanger coming out of turn 4 off the nose of Jordan Gonzalez. You had to know as soon as you saw him going 3 wide there in turn 4 on that lap, on the first lap, that this track, especially in turn 4, will bite you. The truck gets so tight out of that corner there, and it was just watching the inevitable of Shane Neiswanger sliding up across the nose and into the outside wall of Jordan Gonzalez there. Heavy hits to his championship efforts here early on in this event.
And he already came in here about 8th in points, well out of it, over 20 points back. So not going to do himself any favors with that one. Too early to put yourself in that type of position. I thought he was going to get clear of Jordan and kind of get away. I believe that was it Jackson Sims who was inside potentially, and
that's the 81 of Mike McConville there who got held up there off that poor exit off of 2. That whole stack up was really the start of that 3 wide there as they went down the back and down into 3. It was a mad scramble there, and it just ended up with McConville, Neiswanger, and Jordan Gonzalez there all stacked on top of each other and just all racing for the same amount of real estate. And it ends up with the 49 nose first into the outside wall here early on in Nashville.
I'll tell you what, he got lucky. He didn't back it into the wall, and depending on how that damage works out, he hasn't said anything about how bad it is. He might not be too bad off. He might just have a little bit of front end damage. He's already off pit road, so I have to assume that it was the casual 30 seconds or so, because pace car is not even close to these guys. It's not like he's sitting there trying to make sure he gets it all done. So he shouldn't be too bad off, shouldn't be engine damage. It'll just be a little bit of aero that'll affect him at the top end of these straightaways. But regardless, he's going to lose a lot of track position out of that. But his race is certainly not over. We can always predict that these play out a little interesting here at Nashville. We tend to get long green flag runs, and then it kind of comes towards the end, like we did at Indy, gets a bunch of yellows towards the end. So potential for Shane to make ground back up, but definitely frustrating for him. I mentioned they were either going to be really aggressive to start and try to get up towards the front, or they were going to try to bide their time and see where it took them. And unfortunately, Shane got a little bit too aggressive and found himself in a pretty awkward position there. I
mentioned that snake pit that Neiswanger and Jump were starting back in there. The middle of the pack can be so hard of racing there early on that it's really easy to get caught up in someone else's mess there. And Shane Neiswanger getting stuck in the middle of a Mike McConville and Jordan Gonzalez sandwich there, proving that to be the case here. So unfortunate happenings for him. He's going to go to the back of this pack here, 22nd on the grid. He will try to bounce back here. Look at that. That truck doesn't look too terribly dinged up. Rather, we're kind of looking at the clean side of it, but still a long way to go here in Nashville. So Shane can possibly even bring this one back around here. Shane's another one who is really good at this speedway. If he gets locked into a groove, he can really slice and dice his way up through this field, but he's got a long way to go to get back to the front. Meanwhile, back up at the front, Zach Henry retained the race lead through all of that. Jared Darling managed to sneak through. He will line up second behind Zach, and then Michael Senzi will be third. Chris Heller fourth. Mike McConville sneaks through there. He's going to be in the fifth position there. I'd say sneaks through. He's going to restart right where he started there in that fifth position. But Nathan Jump creeping into the picture already after all of that. Remember, he started right next to Neiswanger there. Jump able to get through that, and he's going to line up right on the heels of these guys who are all up at the front there. So Nathan Jump already showing speed just 2 laps into this event.
Yeah, he actually just kind of took it easy and did the opposite approach of what Shane did. Just didn't get too aggressive and let that all work itself out. Really smart by him. Obviously dealing with a bit of a foot injury tonight. Not sure what type of Nathan Jump we're going to see, but he definitely is trying to heal there. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how aggressive he wants to get, starting on the bottom. But looks like Zach Henry's also going to pick the top. Interested to see how that works. Obviously, teammate Chris Heller lined up right behind him, and you want to keep Michael Sensi and Jared Darling at bay, and picking the top might be the best way to do that. So the restart zone is in effect. That's my only worry, is you really don't get an advantage because of the restart zone, so he may not even clear Jared going into turn 1, and if he can't get clear of him, we'll have to see how this works, because I don't know that I'd want to keep picking the top, because Jared could just motor by on the inside with how much momentum it's going to take through 1 and 2. But pace truck will be peeling down this time by, and we'll get ready to restack him and go at it again.
325-11 drivers all on that outside line there. You got to know they're going to be talking to each other on this on this restart here as Zach Henry brings them down back into the restart zone. The green flag is out and away. The shot are the 2511 guys. All three of them are going to clear Jared Darling when they get down into this corner. That inside line got stacked up huge. They're 3 wide going into 1 again.
And it's not going to work out.
Eric Kepf is in the wall again, and Ashton Lawson's involved. They're wrecking farther on in the back. Brent Kingcott's involved. The 10 of Robin Durr is involved. That's a huge wreck going to the back of the pack. You said that we were going to get cautions at the end of the race. We're getting them all at the front.
I really don't know how they stacked up. Jared wanted to launch, and then I think he got scared that he was going to trigger the system and give himself a penalty, and then he stopped, and it got Sensi right to his back bumper, and then once again, we have another stack up that just leads to these guys all on top of each other, and I don't think Eric knew he was 3 wide. He kept coming down the track as if he didn't know that was going on, and Jump couldn't do much else. He kind of stabbed the brake, but like he can't back out of it completely, so I don't know what anybody expected to happen there. And then the secondary accident, I guess it's just a reaction. I believe that was Ashton that came across Brent's nose or something happened. We'll go ahead and look back at it here, but that was just a reaction to what happened in front.
There was a slight contact there at the tail end of that wreck, and it was just enough to get, I believe that was the 26 of Ashton Lawson, to get squirrely enough to the point that he couldn't save it while that truck was slowing down. See, here they are 3 wide. And then, yeah, it's just, that's 3, dare I say 4 drivers going for the same bit of real estate there, and it ends up with Eric Kepf just sitting on that outside banking there. Alex Fetter up and over. That truck finally comes to rest down on the apron. But yeah, huge wreck here. This is lap 8 of this 113 lap event. Elliot, if this keeps up, we're going to be here all night long.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm seeing under caution. Nathan Jump just ran to the back of Matt Durr. I'm not sure if he thought, I don't know if he's just not paying attention on, not paying attention under caution, or if he's trying to tell Matt Durr something he wasn't happy with. But there was nothing Matt Durr could do in that situation. He was on the bottom, restarted there, and Eric just kind of drove down across those guys, and now Jump's just driving up the bottom. I'm not really sure, but take another look at it. There's Fetter, there's Robin Durr, there's Preston Henry. They're all kind of involved. I don't really think someone like Ashton had, well, Ashton's the one damaged there with the green truck, but yeah, man, the interesting thing is going to be how this damage works out for these guys that are in the chase, but all the chase drivers seem to be getting involved really early between Ashton, Shane, and Eric Kepf, all involved in these incidents. Nathan Jump also gets a piece. Not sure how bad that's going to affect him. And see, Ashton actually kind of got lucky that he got tapped back by Eric because it stopped him from being involved in whatever Preston and Fetter were getting into. So he may just have a little bit of rear end damage, but Eric's definitely the worst off for wear out of that one.
The key thing to note for that, Shane Neiswanger was involved in that last wreck. He got put in the outside wall on lap 1. He's going to sneak through all of that and wind back up. He restarted in 22nd. He's going to restart this time in 12th. So Shane Neiswanger, a big beneficiary out of all of that. He manages to keep it clean through there, and it looked like he got all of his damage repaired. He's off of pit road and gonna line back up. Like I said, the 12th. It looks like the 13th place position now. So Shane Neiswanger benefiting from that huge pile up there on lap 8.
Yeah, you can see from Eric's perspective there, that's kind of the view that he gets. Can't really see what's going on behind him. So essentially, I assume he just didn't know that he was 3. Maybe the call didn't happen quick enough from the spotter at that point. They are kind of all getting up to speed and getting going there, but I'd have to go back and look and see if maybe that's the fact that Durr shoved his nose in there and that's what Jump's mad about, or if Jump went up the middle. I don't remember who would have initiated all of that, but that's just Eric not knowing that they're 3 wide and coming down across, and after that there's nothing really you can do. So far it looks like Sensi has kind of lost the most out of this as we get ready to kind of stack up again here, and Pace Truck still has lights on. Actually, I thought we were going green this time, but I was getting a little antsy for it. But with the 2511 guys pulling the strategy they got, Sensi's lost the most spots. He's down to 6th. Jared Darling right there, and 2511 now owns the top 3 positions. So Jackson Sims has made up some ground. We'll have to see how this works out for 2511 moving forward.
Those guys now, from being lined up on the outside lane, they're all going to have the top 3 spots here and just have complete control over this restart as we get doubled up to go racing back again here. It's Zach Henry in first, Chris Heller in second to his outside. Jordan Gonzalez lines up behind Zach there in the 3rd position, and then Jared Darling, who is the cause of all that stack up there in the start of that last restart, he will wind up in the 4th position. Jackson Sims starts 5th. Like you said, Michael Sensi dropping positions every time we seem to take the green flag. Hopefully he can stop the bleeding on that and start to march his way back forward. He will line up in the 6th place position. Then you get back into the guys who were involved in that last little scuffle there, but didn't come out for very much worse for wear. Mike McConville in the 81, he lines up in the 7th position with Robin Durr, or rather Matt Durr, to his outside. And then Aiden DuPont actually restarting back there in the 10th position, has been right in the middle of all of this and has managed to keep it clean. So Aiden starting to march forward here early on as we get ready to go racing here once again. Pace truck is off of the banking down to pit road. The field is in the hands of Zach Henry here. He's going to be talking to his 2511 teammates. They're into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is out, and he's away with a shot. And Jared Darling's going to get to the back bumper of that 11 truck with Chris Heller, giving a little bump down there. He's got something to say about that last restart. He's going to try and take it back from him here, as Zach Henry has just checked out on everyone. But meanwhile, behind him, they're 2 by 2 off of 2.
Yeah, I'm interested. Heller didn't really line up right next to Zach. It's almost like he wasn't going to provide any type of pressure. I mean, it is still very early. There's no need to really pressure him. You can see him fall back in behind Jordan Gonzalez there. So Heller just taking it easy, trying to take care of his stuff early on, as Jared, it's kind of just sacked everything up, as Jared and Sims are both right there. McConville to the inside of Sensi and McConville the first real battle, as Sims looks to the inside of Jared Darling. They all kind of check up. And that's what you get with this track. Some guys want to drive in really hard. Some guys don't. Shane gets to the back of Matt Durr. That's teammates right there making a little bit of contact on corner exit. Shane driving maybe a little bit angry, as Gavin Fitzgerald has moved his way up through the field now as well.
I believe that contact there between Neiswanger and Durr there in 44 was the cause of a stack up that happened all the way up at the 37 and the 81 of Cinzy and McConville. They got stacked up. It created an accordion effect that went all the way back to Neiswanger and Durr, and that was just, I don't believe that Shane would intentionally hit a teammate like that, but like you said, Shane's had a rough race already, and we're only 10 laps into this thing, so he might have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder at this point. He's back, caught back up to the rear bumper of Nathan Jump there, almost gets in the back of him as they enter turn 3, but everybody keeps it clean. Meanwhile, back up front, it's still Jackson Sims now and Michael Senzi are now battling side by side as they head off into 1.
And that's for the 5th position as they stack up towards Jared Darling. Remember the little bit of contact between Jump and Shane Neiswanger as Sensi and Sims get a little tight off exit. Obviously, Shane's only back in points because of that truck to his inside as they battle back there for about the 9th position. And he's going to try to drive around the outside here. The outside's looking pretty well. You just got to wonder what that does to the right front, what that does to the tires overall as this run goes on. Sensi going to clear Sims up towards the front. Shane trying to clear Nathan Jump as they go into turn 1.
Like you said, that outside lane starting to really show that advantage early on, but you got to think that that's going to affect those tires, especially the right front, as the more and more as the run goes on. Zach Henry has checked out from the rest of the field except for Jordan Gonzalez. He is hot on his heels there as they head off into 3. 2511 still controls the top 3 spots, but Jared Darling is going to have something to say as he is knocking on Chris Heller's rear bumper. They flash across the line this time.
Yeah, you can't help but be impressed with what Jordan Gonzalez has been able to do. Again, hasn't really had a lot of seat time previously, and now he's back in his truck full-time this season and trying to make a little bit of a name out there. And he's had a really rough start to the season, but he's come into his own very recently and going into this chase format. Obviously not in the chase, but definitely showing a little bit of muscle here as this stretches out a bit. And Heller trying to get away from Jared Darling. That's who I really thought would be a little bit more impressive recently, but he's just been kind of messed up in a lot of situations as well. Similar to his teammate Jordan Gonzalez, they just they run really well, and then they just get involved in something that isn't their own doing. And unfortunately, it takes them out of these positions to be in a chase and be one of those top contenders. But Heller used to be a very notable driver in this series, running top 5 consistently, and ever since coming back, he's kind of just been right around that top 5 mark, but hasn't been able to put himself back in winner's circle. Waiting to see that happen, but Jordan Gonzalez might be the first guy to say something about that.
Boy, as soon as we threw it up to talk about the 2511 guys, the battle for that 7th place spot just exploded. You had about 6 cars underneath the blanket. You still got about 4 or 5 of them there. They're 2 by 2. Neiswanger to the inside of Gavin Fitzgerald. He has been driving like a man possessed trying to get through this pack here, and he's found himself from the top lane down to the bottom lane and pinned under Gavin Fitzgerald as Gavin slaps the wall out of 4, and miraculously he's going to hold momentum there, but you can see the damage to the right side of that truck. That's just going to get get more and more aggravated as the run goes on. Like I said, that turn 4, the exit of turn 4, so tight off the truck here as Nathan Jump gets to the back bumper of Shane Nice. We're going to give him a little boost going down into 3, but big battles happening up back in the pack for that 8th place position there.
Trucks will consistently get tighter, and we'll keep the action running. We're going to go ahead and go to a quick break right now, the first of a couple here tonight, and we'll come right back when the action heats up.
Welcome back to the Nashville Superspeedway, the Great Lakes Truck Series, round 2 of the chase for the GLTS Championship here, where the story continues to be this 12 of Zach Henry is putting a whooping on this field, and he's got his teammates in tow here. He started to open up a little bit of a gap on the 48 of Jordan Gonzalez there. Before we left you, it was 0.3 seconds. Now it's opened up to about 0.6, 0.7. So Zach Henry is starting to show the classic Zach Henry that we know in saving those tires, and he's just going to open it up on these guys as we get down into this event.
Jared Darling looking at the inside of Chris Heller. This has kind of been one of the tighter battles. I thought maybe Heller was going to let him go, but he's not. He's going to sneak to his outside. You can see both of them That's going to ruin their run off the corner. Sensi's going to be able to get a shot at Jared if he wants it going down into turn one. Does he take it? He's going to line up right behind him and see if maybe he can line him up off the corner. It's kind of hard to dive down in with someone into the corner like that, and he's going to think better of it. But no one's really gaining. Zach's kind of driven out to a pretty comfortable lead here, and no one's really itching to get some ground back towards him. And everything else kind of petered out for now as we watch this battle between Sensi and Jared Darling.
The field has single filed out, but while we were under caution there, I wanted to go back towards the back of the pack here. There's some guys we don't really talk about a whole lot. Robin Durr, the 4 of Rod Fosnaugh, and the 28 of James Shiflett were having a whale of a battle back there for the 16th spot there towards the rear of the field, with Nick Caressel, playoff driver Nick Caressel there, having a rough night here in Music City. He's stuck back there in the middle of that gaggle of 4 or 5 drivers who have not been able to get away from each other. So Nick Caressel struggling early on in this one as Robin Durr tags the outside wall, just comes down right in front of Caressel there, manages to keep it straight, but that's going to bring them all right back together after they just all spread out here. Caressel cannot get away from these guys in the back here.
He's trying to sort that out. Meanwhile, Jared Darling right on the back of Chris Heller again. We talk about chase spoilers, and right now Sensi now to the inside of Jared Darling ever so slightly, but 3 of the top 5 are not chase guys. Jared Darling and Zach Henry are the only 2, but then you've got Sims and Jump right back behind them. And don't look now, but the guy that was spun with Eric Kemp a little while ago, Ashton Lawson, has quietly moved his way up towards where Nathan Jump is. I don't know if he got fresh tires or not, and that's what could potentially be benefiting him, but he has moved all the way up to the 8th position now, and just ever so slightly making his way up towards the front. He's been very good here in the past, might be someone to reckon with later on.
With how tight the tires will wear on this track here, you have to be very surgical in your moves, and that's exactly what Ashton Lawson has been. He's been very surgical moving up through the field here, picking and choosing his battles, choosing his moments here, and just continuing to creep up the leaderboard here. He started back in the 16th spot. He's now up to 8th. He's cut that march to the front all the way in half here as he continues to march on, and the sun starts to set here in Nashville. The grip's going to increase, and the speeds are going to increase just as well. So the action's only going to get heated up here as the temperatures cool down here in Music City.
And as the temperatures cool down, the 12 heats up because he is now 1.2 seconds out and nearly 2 seconds ahead of Heller and the rest of this group. Sims is starting to close in on these 3rd, 4th, and 5th place trucks, but they're all kind of just bunched up on each other as we're looking at pit stops here probably in the next 10 to 15 laps, I'd imagine, pending those caution laps earlier. We were looking at about 38 to 40 laps on fuel, so we're assuming they can go maybe 5 to 10 laps more than that, so anywhere in the mid-40s to 50 range. But right now we're watching this battle, which is starting to heat up now with Sims getting involved between Jared Darling, Michael Sensi, and Jackson Sims.
I'll tell you who's not heating up is the 49 of Shane Neiswanger. After being involved in all of that action early on, he raced his way up to about the 6th or 7th position there, and then the tires just hit him like a brick wall, and he has fallen all the way back to the 11th place position there. He's sitting in between he's in a little bit of a dark horse sandwich there with himself, Matt Durr, and the 00 of Aiden DuPont. So tires already affecting Shane Neiswanger and the rest of the field here as Zach Henry continues to pull away. But meanwhile, back at the front, this battle here is not going away. These guys are nose to tail coming off of 4.
Yeah, this is going to be a massive group in a second. Jump not far behind. Ashton Lawson not far behind. Sensi trying to get to the outside of Jared Darling. That might help him. He'll be able to run the outside lane and kind of pinch Jared down and be able to get the exit off the corner. Let's see how he does. He can't quite stay there, though, as Jared's going to come up across his nose. Now he's going to undercut. Some little dummy go to the inside, see what he can do going into 3. Doesn't want to do that either. Going to follow him down into 3. So interesting. Michael Sensi was aggressive last week and just kind of rethinking his plan here. Comfortable to run in 5th right now, potentially try to pick this up under pit stops. One thing to note, Gavin Fitzgerald along with Jay Neiswanger, remember he was up in about the 6th, 5th positions. He's dropped all the way back to now the 14th spot. Spencer Owens back there with him. Remember, Spencer didn't qualify up to 13th now, and they've all just kind of been around right outside the top 10, working their way up through.
been continuing to watch this gaggle here for the third place spot here as Jared Darling looks to the inside of Chris Heller there. We saw the outside lane prevailing so early on, but as the tires wear, Elliot, and you get this even wear on it, do you have any idea of which lane is going to be a preferred lane in this one as the tires get that even wear on them and the drive is so much harder to get off of the corner?
I don't know. You saw Sensi had an opening to go to the bottom. He didn't take it. He decided to stay with the top, and it's going to hurt him because Sims is able to roll the bottom more. I think it just depends how comfortable you are in the truck. You can see Jared's not able to roll the top as well as Sensi can. Sensi can stay right with him, and being able to roll the top is really good, but if you're going to get stuck in a box like Sensi is now, you're not going to have too many options. He's going to hope that Jared can clear Heller here off turn 2 and potentially drive around with him, but you know, it all comes down to how you drive the truck. And see Heller's pushing really hard. He's really tight now. Sims might honestly take him 3 wide here going into 3. He's going to look and do it, and Heller's going to give him the room as well. Now Heller's going to drive off into the corner a lot harder. Sims is going to hit pit road here, but again, it's all how you drive that truck. Sims decides not to pit because Ashton was right behind him, I think, but Jump will hit pit road.
Sims could not get it woed up. He had a mirror full of Ashton Lawson, about as full as you can make it, as Ashton Lawson was all over the back bumper here, just preventing Jackson Sims from getting it woed up and hitting pit road. This pit road entry is a little bit different and it can be pretty difficult here as it's right off of corner exit here, so you have to keep that wheel turned so much more going down onto the pit lane here. But like you said, Nathan jumps on and hit pit road, and Jackson Sims is going to follow him this time around here as Sims looks to be the only one here. So pit stop's already underway as your fuel window here about 38 to 40 laps per Jackson Sims there, as he is where we got our data from prior to race start. But he will hit pit road this time, and I believe that's just going to kick off everybody as the 4 of Rod Vosna has followed him down.
Shane's going to come down this time. Eric Kep came down initially as well with Nathan Jump. So the leader staying out. And I think that was big for Jared. Zach Henry actually pits right here too. But I think that was big for Jared and Heller and Sensi to get around Heller, because he seemed to be holding them up a little bit. And now they can kind of distance themselves. And if they can stay ahead of him through pit stops, maybe be able to track down Jordan Gonzalez or do I dare say Zach Henry. But right now we'll see how they can hit pit road, because Jared Darling, Michael Sensi both coming down right here.
Boy, Chris Heller has just started to plummet like a rock. He's now got Ashton Lawson to his inside. There's a group of 3 right in front of him going to hit pit road, and they're going to take it 2 by 2, and everybody gets on the pit road cleanly. But that was a hairy moment there as the 48 of Jordan Gonzalez, the 1 of Jared Darling, and the 37 of Michael Sensi all hit pit road, and Ashton and Heller were 2 by 2, or rather 2 wide coming off of the corner there. A really hairy moment, but everybody gets on the pit road cleanly.
I think that's going to hurt Jared and Sensi there. They definitely had to slow up a bit. With Jordan, I don't think Jordan really knew how hard he could attack pit road and came down really easy. Either that or Jared just drove it in really hard, and Jordan had a good entry. I couldn't quite tell. No one locked up, so it's not like anyone was attacking super hard, but they're all going to leave pit road here together. And we've still got this battle, which is technically for the lead between Heller and Ashton Lawson, and I guess that'll come down to how they want to pit here.
We saw Zach Henry pit early on. He's usually a purveyor of the long cut, running these things as, or the overcut rather, running these tires in the truck as long as you can. As Chris Heller just slides it into the pit road entry there, a 4-wheel Tokyo drift on pit entry there for Chris Heller, but he gets it woed up and will carry on at 45 miles an hour down this down the pit lane. But like I was saying, Zach Henry usually a purveyor of the overcut on this one, running these tires as long as possible, but he elected to pit early. Elliot, what does that tell you about how he's feeling about the tire wear with how many laps we have left in this event?
Well, I think it's an interesting track. I think this is the one track that would work at because of where they are. Sorry, I was watching someone slide off of turn 4, but with how the pit stops are going to work, they can kind of do what they want here. They can go 4-8, and then that puts them 8 to the good. So they can kind of short stint, they can long stint, they can do what they want to do. So I think you can you figure out what you want. I believe we've got an issue at McConville. He may have run out of fuel or something. He's slow off of turn 2, and he's down on the apron now.
He tried to hit pit road this last time. He's going to have teammate Alex Fetter try and come and give him a bump here. We're going to have to look into the GLR rule book on that one to see if that's a teammate penalty or whatnot. But he has run out of fuel on the backstretch here. He tried to hit pit road last time around, couldn't get it woed up in time, and just had to carry around and just face the inevitable there coming out of 2. So he will coast on a pit road this time. Alex Fetter just carries on his own race. So teammates helping each other out here in Music City.
Well, that's your second in points. Going to lose a lot of points out of this one. Very frustrating. On the other side, Jared Darling has actually cleared Jordan Gonzalez, and it'll leave Gonzalez in the hands of Michael Sensi for that new third position. We got to find out where guys like Nathan Jump and those guys come out. I believe Jump's actually going to jump a bunch of these guys and be in about second, but right now it's very interesting. I'm surprised McConville would run out.
He is still crawling. He hasn't had any throttle whatsoever in the tank. He just now makes it to his pit stall with it, which was at the very end of pit road. He had a solid qualifying effort, and that put him way far down pit road. So he had to crawl the back half of pit road at like 17 miles an hour was what I was reading on the speed charts there. But he is fueled up and tired up, and away he goes. Maybe they might have had some. Maybe the crew didn't get the fuel in the car if he had pitted already. I'm not really sure, but a very costly mistake there for the 81 team, as he is going to go 2 laps down in this event. As Nick Caressel now hits pit road, he is the lone car to stay on the track and try and hope for a caution here. He will hit pit road this time and relinquish the lead back to Zach Henry. But the second place has changed there as Nathan Jump has moved into the picture here. He is in the second place and only 1.2 back from Zach Henry, who has 2 lap fresher tires than him. 2511 now holds the top 2 spots with those early pits.
Yeah, Jackson Sims actually leapfrogs him. He's up to 3rd. Jared Darling's going to be 4th. Gonzalez has dropped back to 5th with Sensi back in 6th. Interested to see how Heller and Ashton Lawson fare. They've come out 8th and 10th. A little bit off the mark, but they've got that fresher rubber underneath them, so we'll have to see what they can do with that. Ashton was coming on really strong at the end of that run, potentially the fastest truck on track, definitely faster than everybody in front of him, with the exception of potentially Zach Henry, but he definitely had the pace. So we'll have to see if that long run is going to help them and what they do later. Now, I believe what Jump's going to do is probably run as long as he can here and even up with Zach and try to come out on a strategy that puts him up towards those top 3 positions, because he was running about 5th or 6th there prior to the pit stop.
Well, you can see with this battle here between the 11 of Chris Heller and the 44 of Matt Durr, Heller was dropping all those positions there at the end of that run, as they're going to make contact down into 1 there. That's just hard racing. Those 2 turn right into each other going into the entry of the corner there. Contact between the 2 cars, and that's just, I mean, I'm at a loss for words. That was just 2 guys going for the same piece of real estate there.
Well, no harm, no foul. Just going to keep moving on. Jump is actually running faster pace than Zach Henry with the older tire. We'll have to see if he can keep that up, or if it's just kind of how that last lap went. Maybe Zach's in a little bit of traffic, but right now Jump potentially going to make something out of this currently. As you can see, Zach's kind of deal with Nick Caressel and Eric Kepf around him on those fresher tires. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Jump can do. If he can leapfrog them, stay up in second, and maintain his position, that'd be huge. That'd be a really good strategy to pull early on in this race to try to position himself for later.
On the flip side of this, we go back to 3rd and 4th there. The 6 of Jackson Sims and the 1 of Jared Darling. Jackson has 2 lap older tires than Jared, but these two guys have been glued together here. Obviously, the tire difference not going to matter too much in the front half of this run, but as we get on, we'll have to keep an eye on these guys to see if they start to separate out here as they look to track down that 2511 pairing up there at the front.
We'll keep our eyes on it. We'll go to another break here real quick and jump back in when the action picks up.
First half of the race down, the back half of the race to go here in Nashville for the Great Lakes Truck Series, second race of the chase for the Great Lakes Truck Series Championship here in Nashville. This is a good time to mention that the Great Lakes Truck Series is recruiting. We are actively looking for new drivers coming in for next season. Next season is going to kick off here in a matter of weeks or so. We'll start our recruiting and hosted races, looking for new drivers to fill out this field. So if you're interested in joining in racing here with us, follow the link in our Discord, and our admins will get you all sorted out and ready to go for Great Lakes season number 10 kicks off in a couple weeks.
Backing off of that, a couple of our guys that came in off of recruiting, Mike McConville, Nick Caressel, just going to re-update you on that. Actually, to include that Eric Kev, not someone came in off recruiting, but those three are suck a lap down with how these how that pit stop cycled out, and are currently all sitting 18th, 19th, and 20th. They are all chase drivers that are now struggling, trying to get some hard-earned points here. After all starting up towards the top 15, they're now struggling to run right inside the top 20.
Yeah, one of those guys, playoff drivers, really struggling tonight. Shane Neiswanger, he is on the tail end of this. I say the tail end of this lead lap. He's still got about a third of a track in between him and the 12 of Zach Henry here, your leader. But a rough night for him. Must have had something go wrong on the pit stalls there, or on the pit stops rather, because he is down in the 15th position, battling with the likes of Brent Kingcott and Rob Fosnaugh back there. In that one. So a rough night for the 49 of Shane Neiswanger.
Tell you who's not having a rough night. Ashton Lawson is just taking chunks out of every single driver in front of him. He's consistently the fastest guy on track by tenths. Not by a little bit, but by tenths. There's no doubt that by the end of this run, he'll be battling Nathan Jump for second. The question is, does he have enough time and enough pace over the rest of this race and the strategy call to get himself up to Zach Henry? Because right now he restarted this run about 15 laps ago, right around I'd say 9 to 10 seconds. He's already taken 4 seconds out of that. He's 6 seconds behind. So, man, that's a huge gap to make up in a little bit of time. And if he can keep going at this pace, he'll be right up there, at least up towards Jared Darling in third by the time this run's over and they start pitting again to start the third stint.
He's got that gap. He's got 7-lap fresher tires, and like we've seen time and time again, the later we go in these runs, the more and more apparent that tire difference rears its head, and you can see who pitted later in these events, as Ashton Lawson's knocking on the back door of the 48 of Jordan Gonzalez here going into 3. So Ashton Lawson with those older, or the younger tires rather, he is going forward while everybody else is starting to struggle on these older tires as we get through about 2/3 of the way through this fuel run here.
Yeah, the interesting thing is there's really nobody else gaining. I see Sensi's a little bit faster than Zach. Jared might be a little bit faster some laps, but they're all kind of even. Ashton's the only one that can consistently run quicker than everybody that's in front of him. But now he's going to have to work through traffic. He's going to have to deal with the 48. He's going to have to deal with the 37. They're not just going to roll over. The 37 is going to be for 5th. You're not just going to move over for that. Sims has worked his way up to 4th. Jared's not going to roll over for 3rd. He's on some of the fresher tires as well, trying to get up to Jump. So he's, Jordan may have moved over for him. No one else in front of him probably will. So it'll be interesting to see how he works his way up through there, and if he can keep pulling that gap a little bit tighter lap by lap. That time he was pretty much even with Zach, having to work his way around Jordan.
Well, speaking of drivers in front of him, Jackson Sims is having a terrible time trying to get off of turn 4. That's the 2nd lap in a row now that he either has or just barely has scraped that outside wall coming out of 4. So the tightness already setting in for these drivers here who are on. Jackson Sims has 20 laps on his tires. He is, I believe that he was the 2nd person to hit pit road behind Nathan Jump with the oldest tires at 29, coming around this time for 30. And speaking of Jump, these guys are starting to reel him back in. Jump usually on the opposite sides of the tire stratagem here, where he will run as long as he can and then pick his way back through the field. Jump pit early and is having all these guys try and run him back down, and you can just see him starting to creep into the picture there behind him. So as we get down into it, these tires are becoming more and more apparent as Ashton Lawson has now gotten to the back bumper of Michael Sensi, and he is looking for that number 5 spot.
Well, you say that about Jump, but the interesting thing is you got to think someone like Heller pit about a lap before Ashton did, and Ashton came out behind Heller, and he's driven away. He's gone. He's 2 seconds ahead of Heller and just gone. Yeah, he was 2 seconds behind Heller at one point. So I think that just goes to show how well Ashton has been managing his tires and how well Jump is managing his. He's been about 3 seconds behind Zach, and Jared's been about 3.9. So on 15 lap older tires, you said, I believe, from Jump to Darling, he's still maintaining about 7/10 over him. Remember, he was a solid second behind him, albeit 4 or 5 positions behind him as well, that he's now jumped ahead of. And if he can sit here and manage second or third and pit from that position and make that work for the rest of this race, that would be stellar for Nathan Jump, who had been running around 5th or 6th or 7th all night.
And the gap between Jump and Jared has now shrunk to under half a second. Jared's really starting to put the heat on the back of that 25 truck as he goes around teammate Eric Kemp there to have Eric fall further down the 1 lap down leaderboard here. So Jared Darling trying to catch the 25 of Nathan Jump, as we have been watching this battle here on your screen between the 23 of Spencer Owens and the 00 of Aiden DuPont for the last 5 laps. These guys cannot get away from each other, as Spencer finally seems to clear the 00 of 81 and start to set sail on this, but a good battle there for that 9th place position.
Yeah, Spencer's been working hard all day long to just be right around the top 10. Now setting sights on Chris Heller and Jordan Gonzalez. Remember when it was the top 3 of all 25-11 guys, and unfortunately Jordan and Heller have just kind of cycled towards the back, can't really make it through these long runs. They had some really good short run pace, but it has all gone negative for them as these runs go on, and now they find themselves out towards about the 10th position. So Spencer Owens still just moving his way up through the field. Remember, didn't even qualify, started 20th, and just had to work his way up through the field, as Sensi's now under hard attack from Ashton Lawson, as Sensi had to work his way around Eric Kemp. Ashton's going to try to get to the outside. Sensi's going to say no, and maybe Ashton potentially thought he was going to maybe send it down the inside, but it looks like he's going to be smart and try to make his pass worth it a little bit more, as Jared Darling has made up a lot of ground on Nathan Jump as well. We're going to watch both these battles kind of back to back here if we can.
Both of these guys have both of these battles rather have just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Just morphed out of nothing right at the same time here, as you see Sensi and Ashton Lawson side by side as they flash across the line this time. Ashton knows he's got the better tires here. You saw him looking high, looking low on Sensi, trying to get the best spot. Sensi saying nothing doing here. He's going to hold that outside position there, as they're still going to be door-to-door off of 2. Meanwhile, farther up there, Jared Darling has caught the tail end of Nathan Jump. How aggressive will he be in his quest for that number 2 position here, as they round the turn 4 and come back across the line here? Ashton Lawson has gotten by now the 37 of Michael Sensi, move Ashton up into that number 5 position.
Yeah, that's smart by Sensi. Sometimes you want to race the guy, especially, that's for 5th, but Ashton's come from a long way back. It's a good time to just kind of let him go track down Sims and see if maybe you can manage your strategy and use Sims as that 5th place position and not worry about Ashton, because Ashton is just on a different zip code right now than a lot of these guys around him. So Sensi being a little bit smart, Sims hitting pit road, Nathan Jump hitting pit road. Both these guys going to be the early pitters once again, but this is the window for the last pit stop of the race, and we'll just see how these guys work this out. How soon before Jared and Zach Henry pit?
I am not sure if you could enter that pit road any harder than the 25 and the 6 just did. Both of them were sideways in a 4-wheel drift coming on there, and it looks like Jackson Sims just barely going to get into his pit stall there. I thought there for a second he was going to slide through his stall, but a very aggressive pit entry from the both of them, especially the 25 of Nathan Jump. He had it. I mean, I was watching the door numbers on that one coming down off of turn 4 there, but they will get away cleanly, and that will kick off pit stops here, as the 49 of Shane Neiswanger has come in, the 44 of Matt Durr, and the 14 of Gavin Fitzgerald have all elected to come down pit road this time.
Yeah, the big question mark is going to be when Zach Henry, Jared Darling, and Ashton Lawson all come down. We assume Ashton's going to run
off in the grass in the backstretch. That's just I'm not really sure what happened there. He spun coming off, or he started to spin coming off of on pit exit there, and just got down into the grass and had to catch it and lock it down. He is going to lose a lot of time on his pit exit there. A huge moment for the driver of that 25 truck.
So we've been talking about how push tight these trucks get on corner exit. We never really talked about how slick pit exit or entry is, and how much these trucks will spin rear tires right at that point. And you can see him just kind of slide, and he never really, he did almost lock it down, but he should be good to keep going. Obviously, nothing, no issues with that cone. As long as you're to the left of the line, you won't get a penalty for anything. So I'm just going to lose a good bit of time off that until mosey on and try to regain composure after that. But we'll have to see how much time he actually lost through all that.
At 33 to go, that is going to be absolutely lethal to his chances of running down teammate Zach Henry there. He's going to fall all the way back behind teammate Chris Heller. He is now cycled out to the 15th position in the middle of these pit stops, obviously. So will not be his final running position, but a huge blow to his efforts tonight. As we see that every now and again in the Great Lakes Truck Series here, somebody gets just a little bit antsy on that throttle pedal coming off of pit road on those new tires, and it bites them. Jump's lucky that it wasn't more of that, as he could have spun around and easily come back up onto the racetrack there. So a good effort from him to keep it down low and avoid a penalty, avoid any coming back up on the track and causing further mayhem. But a huge moment there for the driver of the 25 truck.
Yeah, Sensi and Darling have hit pit road. It looks like Ashton Lawson's really the only one left out on track. I got to assume he'd hit pit road this time or next time by. You don't want to stay out too much longer than everybody else. He's given himself enough time. He's got about 30 laps here to work his way back up through. I just wonder if maybe he's going a little bit too long at this point, since Zach did just pit a couple laps ago. But he could also just be hoping that maybe we get a yellow like Jump almost gave us. But yeah, Jump's going to cycle out behind. He'll be in front of Jordan Gonzalez and Michael Sensi here. Sensi comes off pit road with Jordan. That'll put Jump back around 5th or 6th. Heller's still going to be in front of him, so that'll be a battle that'll eventually happen, but he will no longer be trying to track down Zach Henry. He'll be around that 5th or 6th spot.
You have to wonder why Ashton Lawson's staying out so long, trying to run this out as far as he can, because the longer he stays out there, the more laps tick by. Obviously, everybody is good this time as he hits pit road this time now, so he will relinquish the lead back to Zach Henry when they cycle back around. But with as long as he was staying out there, that's just draining more sand out of the hourglass for him to be able to run down those front competitors there. So I gotta wonder what his logic was there for staying out as long as it was.
Yeah, you would think he cut it down as much as he could here. Now you want to pit a little bit early and try to stay with these guys. Pit maybe 2 laps with them and make sure that you can track them back down. But now he's got himself in a bit of a situation because he's gonna have to pass all these guys again. He's gonna come out behind Sensi, behind Gonzalez and everybody, and have to work his way as he spins.
He spun off of pit road now too, just like the 25 truck. The 26 truck now got loose coming off of pit road. That is absolutely huge. The pit exit lane there must be made of ice, as we have now seen 2 trucks, 2 of your top contenders rather, coming off of pit road, and they will lose time off of pit road. That is absolutely lethal to his chances as well.
And I think that makes Jump feel a little bit better. That was going to be a guy that he'd have to contend with for a position and potential point later on. So that stops his bleeding a little bit more, and now Jump can start to look towards Jared Darling, Chris Heller, and Jackson Sims. Sims has been the one that's jumped everybody here with that early pit stop. And with Jump having his issues, Sims has come out in 2nd now, ahead of Heller and Jared, and is currently under attack by Heller. But I believe he has a couple lap older tires than Heller, but Heller has not really had the pace compared to these guys. So we'll have to see how Heller's pace works out this run. Maybe he's figured something out throughout the race.
Chris Heller has the oldest tires on the track of the front runners who have pit. I believe actually just the oldest tires in general at 13 laps. Jackson Sims has 10 laps on his tires. Jared Darling has 6. So with a 4-lap advantage and this close of a gap, you got to think Jared Darling's about to just blow by Jackson Sims. Depending on how well Sims saves tires, we've been seeing throughout the course of this season that Sims can save tire when needed and come on strong there at the end. He's going to have to do that to hold off the fresher tires and the faster truck all night of Jared Darling here, as Jared's going to look to the inside going into 3.
And I'm not really sure what Spencer Owens' strategy is back here, but he's up to 8th. He's jumped a bunch of guys. We talked about Caressel, Niswanger, Fitzgerald. He's all the way up to 8th from 20th, setting sights on Jordan Gonzalez, doing a really fine job trying to manage his race and trying to manage some points when some guys are having some struggles tonight.
Definitely taking advantage of all the struggles that have been going on there, right in that 8th, 9th, 10th area. It seems like whoever gets stuck right there in the middle of this field is going to have some issues there. It's been happening from the drop of the green flag. So Spencer able to capitalize on everyone else's misfortune. He has moved up 12 positions from the start of this race here up to the 8th spot. So good job, Spencer, as we bring it around for 90 laps this time.
Interesting little development here. Since he's actually tracking down Jump. I know he has fresher tires, but remember, Jump was pretty solid through that first run, and you got to wonder if maybe the issue that he had is kind of hurting him here as they both go around McConville, who's still kind of slow, and I'm questioning he may have just come off pit road with a late pit stop or something, but McConville's still off the mark again, coming off of his win last week as well.
Mike McConville having a hard time keeping that momentum up, going in from Indy to Nashville here. He's very fortunate that he had the finish that he did to try and get some points on the board, because based on how it's going tonight, he's not going to be getting a whole lot of them as the laps start to wind down here, and this battle for that 5th position heats up as Michael Senzi gets by the 25 of Nathan Jump, move the 37 truck up into the top 5 here late on in this event.
And Jump's just letting guys go here. Sensi going to set sights on Heller. That's going to be for 4th now. So Sensi really solid run here towards the end. A bunch of guys right around him like Ashton and Jump having their issues with tires and sliding the tires coming off pit road. Sensi going to try to work his way right around Heller and potentially set sights on Sims, who also has older tires, as Mike McConville is going to follow him right through. And back here we've got Brent Kingcott and Shane Niswanger battling around Robin Durst. Shane has just not had the night that you'd think he would have had. I thought for sure he had put that little wreck out of his mind and driven his way right up to about the top 10. And he's been around top 10. He's been 13th, 15th all night long. But just like right there, you can see the truck is just a bit too tight for him. Not really how he wants to drive. And he's definitely gotten into the wall potentially once or twice early on in this race. And now he's just trying to get through the end of this one and come home with a nice top 15 and just try to get it home.
On the flip side of that, Zach Henry has just put on a masterclass tonight. It's been a little while. We were talking all season long about the successes that Jump has had, his teammate in the 25. Early on in the season, Milad Radman was picking him up, putting him down. Zach Henry was quietly there, running solidly in the top 5 all season long, but we hadn't really seen a breakout performance from Zach like we were used to. But it's good to see Zach Henry, one of the top tier contenders in the Great Lakes Truck Series for sure, back in full form. He has got a almost 5.5 second lead over second place. So good, give a kudos to Zach Henry after kind of slight. I mean, it's not much of a. It's kind of the old Jimmy Johnson effect there. If from running up, you get from running up front for so long, like the way that Zach Henry does, that any slip up is just absolutely detrimental to his career and everything. But it's great to see Zach Henry back on form here, and he has just put a masterclass on the field here tonight.
I'll tell you what, we're not done with this battle for 3rd quite yet. Sensi has sights set on Sims, and he has closed it in less than a second behind him now. This is not done yet. Sensi obviously feeling frustrated after last week, his tangle with Zach Henry, where I'm sure Zach blames Sensi, and I'm sure Sensi blames Zach. That's just how that issue goes. Going off into the corner like that at Indy, you just kind of eat up the same space and both end up in the wall at the same time. But Sensi has completely turned that around. Zach obviously has as well with his stellar night. But how about Sensi coming back and battling in the top 5, trying to pick off the podium and go get Sims right here for 3rd, closing at the end of this race.
As you can see on your screen, a little battle between 25-11 teammates, the 25 and the 11 of Jump and Heller there, with actually teammate Jordan Gonzalez there in tow. So a little group, little 25-11 grouping there for the 7th, 8th, or the 6th, 7th, and 8th spots in this one. They're all on with a little bit different stagger of tire life, but they have all found themselves again and running solidly inside the top 10.
Yeah, and you got to wonder what could have been for Jump. He'd probably be running still about second or third, fending off with Jared, based off of how he ran off of pit road. But he did pit with Sims, so interested if maybe he was better at tire management than Sims, or if we're just seeing how these shorter stints aren't working out for these guys as this race goes on. But Jump currently kind of holding bay there over Heller, and really great job by Jordan Gonzalez to maintain and keep his composure and potentially come away with a top 5 here. Just got to wonder if Jump's going to let them race each other and potentially pass him, or if they're going to do some team orders and try to get Jump some extra points here and make sure he doesn't fall too far back. But those guys were all racing right around 10th, and now they're all sitting up inside the top 7, so really solid job by them. But don't look now. Spencer Owens, Ashton Lawson still on the march with about 13 to go still.
Well, you say don't look now, Jackson Sims, because Michael Senzi is to his inside, and that the third place on the podium there is under fire here, as they will go 2 by 2 down the back here. Senzi on the inside, Jackson Sims on the outside. Senzi with 4 lap fresher tires, and it's showing now as we wind down. We've got 13 laps to go in this one. 2 by 2, they're going to come off of turn 4.
And you can see just how tight Sims is. Since he can roll the bottom just a little bit better, he's going to potentially be clear into 1. Just a nice little send. There you go. Sims is going to give it to him, potentially try to go back underneath, but since he's going to be fast enough through the middle of the corner, kind of close that off and not let him think about it. And now he can maybe set sights on Jared Darling, but it might be a little bit too late for that. 3 seconds and about 12 laps to go this time by. We'll have to see how he can march his way up there, if he can.
Michael Senzi playing the ultimate spoiler here tonight. Not going to catch Zach Henry, but a solid effort from him to come to be up there in an interview spot should the race finish with him in that 3rd place position there. So nice job from the E95 driver there in the 37 truck, playing spoiler amongst a field of very strong playoff contenders.
And don't look now, Nathan Jump. Jordan Gonzalez is starting to put himself in a position to take the top 5 away. And Spencer Owens, along with Ashton Lawson, starting to look towards Chris Heller. We've got a nice little battle all right outside the top 5 between 5th and 8th here. And it could all come down right to the end.
Yeah, Nathan Jump on those older tires. Jordan Gonzalez on with a little bit newer tires. A 2-lap difference there. They have pulled away from teammate Chris Heller. And those two will, I want to say they'd battle, but at the same time, Jordan Gonzalez, knowing that he's not a playoff driver, and Nathan Jump being the top contender, you got to think that Jump's going to try and beg for a little help here from teammate Gonzalez there. Meanwhile, behind them, Ashton Lawson has caught back up to the 11 of Chris Heller. He's looking for 7th.
And that just makes you wonder what it could have been for Ashton Lawson. That big mistake. You don't know how much time that cost him, but could he have come away with an easy top 5 tonight, potentially 3rd? He was already ahead of Sensi. He was near Jared Darling and Jackson Sims. I mean, he was getting there. Could he have potentially come away with a 2nd or 3rd place finish? We won't know, but we get to watch this battle as he goes around Heller. That's for the 6th position, or 7th position, sorry, and he's going to set sights on Gonzalez and Jump. And Gonzalez is still trying to get towards Jump for that top 5.
Ashton Lawson going to try and bring Spencer Owens through. Chris Heller is going to chop that block and say, no, thank you. He's going to at least make Spencer fight for it by himself here. Spencer's gotten to the back bumper of that 11 truck, backs off a little bit into the corner, going to try and arc it a little bit differently here and get a big run off of the corner here, coming down to the stripe, and we've hit 8 to go rather this time.
Not really going to work for Spencer. He's been trying some different things, trying the outside, trying the middle, and nothing really doing for him. I mean, it's worked overall. He's definitely made up pace, started 20th up to 9th. Ashton's done the same thing, but everyone else up towards the top 6 has pretty much started in the top 10 and hasn't really moved. So kudos to those guys for having to drive up through the field. We mentioned that earlier. It's hard to pass here, and it's not an easy task to start towards the back and drive your way up. Just ask guys like Rod Fosnot and James Shiflett, who started back there and are still running pretty competitively back there around 16th, 17th with each other. So, you know, it's impressive to see what Spencer's been able to do, and he's really trying to tick off Heller and gain another point here towards that championship.
7 laps to go this time, and Spencer Owens wants that position number 8, but he's got to go through the 11 of Chris Heller to get it. He's going to look down low this time, thinks better of it, tucks back in line. Behind him, they're going to both wrap the bottom here, and Spencer is going to try and get to the back bumper of Chris Heller as they flash back across the line. 6 to go this time.
The problem with Spencer is he's just watching Ashton drive away. I think he thought he was going to be able to kind of follow Ashton up through there, and that is not the case at all. Ashton is driven away, and he's looking towards Jordan Gonzalez, and he's getting there. I just don't know if he'll be able to catch him, pass him, and then still get to jump. But man, you gotta think if Ashton didn't have his bit of a mistake or maybe pitted a couple laps earlier, he could be sitting there battling Jared Darling or Michael Sensi for the 2nd or 3rd spot tonight right now.
Definitely 2 guys, Nathan Jump and Ashton Lawson, had incredible drives going on, got bitten by an absolutely slick pit road exit there with those spins that you saw earlier on in the evening. Definitely 2 top contenders absolutely got nerfed by that, so trying to fight back here. They'll both finish solidly in the top 10 should we carry on, but like I said, got to think of what could have been here as the laps tick down here in Nashville.
Yeah, I think for Jump, it's just kind of recovery mode. This 5th place spot, points-wise, puts him in a really good spot. Jared Darling came in 10 points back. He's going to gain potentially 2 or 3 points out of it. Remember, I don't know who's really led laps. I think they both stayed out to lead laps, so that would put Jared +3, so we can come out of here about 7 back. Sims would be within 15 points, but everyone else is going to be about 15 or more points behind Jump leaving here. And, you know, the more races that go on and the less time you're going to have to make that up. And 15 points doesn't sound like a lot, but, you know, you get through 2 or 3 races here, and you're looking at 3 races left, and you're still 15 points out. That turns into five positions a race. It adds up. So trying to keep those points minimized, and that's what Jared Darling's doing tonight, still running 2nd and poised to get a 2nd place finish.
I'll tell you who knows every point matters. That's the 26 of Ashton Lawson here, and he is driving like a man who knows it. He dives to the inside of the 48 of Jordan Gonzalez. That's going to be worth a vital point because Ashton had a horrendous start there in Indy. I believe he had some connection issues or got caught up in a wreck. He is currently coming into tonight last among the playoff drivers, so he is trying to make up every point that he can. But meanwhile, back out front, we're going to come around 1 lap to go. Zach Henry is going to take the white flag this time in an absolutely dominating performance.
Yeah, you just got to be impressed. We didn't talk about him pretty much all night, but the show that he put on tonight is definitely one to go back and rewatch. I'm sure he led about 80% of the race. It's something that we're pretty accustomed to seeing in Great Lakes competition. Maybe not from Zach all the time, but other drivers, but definitely add Zach's name to the list here. He did a phenomenal job tonight and deserves every moment of this win. We just got to see what that does to him moving on in the playoffs.
Coming out of turn 4, the number 12 is going back to victory lane. Zach Henry is going to finish on a high note in Music City. He will take the checkered flag and win the 2nd race of the Great Lakes Truck Series chase for the championship. Meanwhile, for the battle for the 8th position has come down to the wire. Spencer Owens gotten by Chris Heller. It's going to be a drag race to the line. Give it to Spencer as they cross the line. Just door to door coming across the line there. Solid battle for them. Spencer will bring it home 8th, and Chris Heller will slip tonight in the closing just corners of this race. They're a solid battle all the way to the line.
And that point matters, man. Any point matters for these guys, especially in the chase. So Spencer Owens doing what he can to make sure that he can get that extra point. One of the biggest movers tonight as well, all the way up to 8th from 20th. Really fantastic drive by him, and to catch guys that were running the top 5 pretty much all night and kind of show his pace. You just got to wonder if he would have qualified, how well he could have fared throughout the middle of this race.
Yeah, last week's race at Indy really shook up the points. We had a lot of heavyweights down at the bottom of the leaderboard, a lot of underdogs rather up towards the top of the leaderboard. But this week the favorites have sort of shown why they are in fact the favorites here as Zach Henry burns it down on the front stretch here. We'll get an interview with him and our top 3 here just in a second. But these guys here, the cream has risen back to the top, and Zach Henry's going back to victory lane. And the point situation, you got to think, has sort of evened itself back out here, as I believe the accordion between the favorites up at the front. The favorites at the back of these standings is going to shrink back again. So we're going to have an interesting race going down. 2 races down in this, 5 to go in the chase for the Great Lakes Championship.
And I believe we're already to the point of going ahead and going through interviews. So I'll pull in Michael Sensi for you here, Brittle.
Michael Sensi, your third place finisher here tonight. Michael, it's Brittle and the boys up in the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir. I sure wish it was a win, but that 12 truck was pretty quick.
Yeah, he was on rails tonight, but I want to talk about your performance here, really sticking it to these playoff guys. What did it take to finish third here and really play the role of spoiler here for a lot of these guys, taking away valuable points as you get a solid third place finish here in Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, with a lower truck count, I knew it was going to be a tire race, so just had to save my stuff, keep myself in it, and I knew we were going to finish pretty well, but I was a little surprised we were able to catch Sims and Jump. They were pretty quick, even on older tires. So, no, really good finish, and just happy to be back.
Yeah, man, it was a solid effort from you all night long there. You were talking about the tires there. Take us through the strategy in your head going into tonight, knowing that tires with this longer fuel run, number of laps wise, what was your strategy going into it, rather with the pit late or the pit early here as the race unfolded?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting to qualify up front like I did, so I was really just going to go into it and really be easy on the tires the first handful of laps and start digging after that. But being up front, I had to try and keep pace as best as I could. I had a feeling the early stop was probably the way to go, and I wanted to try and stay on the same sequence as Zach. But I felt like pitting that one extra lap after him maybe would have given me a better shot with 1 lap older or newer tires. But I think we hit it pretty spot on tonight.
Yeah, third place finish, about as just almost as good as you can hope for with as competitive as this field is here. So a solid effort from you tonight. Looking forward to next week. We go to Dover, sticking with the concrete here. How are you feeling about that one as opposed to this D-shaped oval? You're going to get a true oval in the high banks up in Delaware.
Yeah, I like Dover. It's a challenging track. Another track you got to manage tires, but can't manage them too well or too soft because then you'll lose a lot of time. So it should be interesting. One thing I'm not excited about is the pit road, because I just seemed to struggle on that end of the race this season. So we'll get some practice in and looking forward to it.
Well, heck yeah, man. We'll looking forward to another great performance from you next week. Thank you so much for talking to us, Michael. That's Michael Sensi, your third place finisher here tonight in Nashville.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And next up, we got second place finisher Jared Darling. Got us, heard?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, we're talking to you again, and I feel like it's starting to become a weekly thing, but I think that's a good thing for you, and it means that with Jump not up here in the waiting room or in the broadcast booth with us, that you cut that point lead down a little bit. So tell us about how tonight went, how you ended up in second, and kind of how the tire strategies and everything worked out from your point of view.
Yeah, tonight was a good night, I thought. It was just very difficult to pass, and those first couple cautions there at the beginning, I got kind of behind a bunch of teammates. I got kind of ganged up on that first restart and stacked the field up a little bit, but that's how it goes with teammates. I understand, and it was just so difficult to pass tonight, and I just lost a lot of time. Zach definitely was the fastest car tonight, truck tonight, but I think I was very close. I felt pretty competitive all night, and just wish I would have been able to get through those couple trucks a little quicker. And my pitting, getting off pit road here was it was also treacherous tonight, and kind of lost a lot of time there on the green flag stops. But at least tonight was just a very smooth, clean night, and I feel like I finished where I deserved. So I'm pretty happy with it. And like you said, I don't know what happened to Jump on the last pit stop. I'll have to look back, but because I thought we would have been racing for second, but I gained a few more points than I thought on him. So yeah, it was a good night for us for sure.
Him and Ashton as well kind of spun tires on that slippery pit exit and ended up losing a bunch of time through that. So worked out in your case though, because yeah, that's exactly what we thought would happen, and ended up allowing you to kind of skate away and just have to deal with Sims and then focus on your own race from there and maintain the gap to Sensi. So you're 6 points back. How do you feel going into Dover and moving forward through this chase? How do you take those 6 points away from Jump on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough because he's really quick, obviously, and you know, I mean, there's everyone in here is quick. You know, it's really competitive, and I feel good about the next couple tracks, Dover, and I believe we're at Auto Club. You know, but like I said, if I can just chip away a couple points here and there, because I know it's not going to be big gains unless you know, he has like trouble. So I'm just gonna keep doing what we're doing. I mean, we finish top 3 every week. I don't see why I wouldn't have a chance. I don't really think many people are giving me a shot at it, but I think you know, we're at least showing that we belong here, and we'll keep at it. Hopefully, keep talking to you every week after the end of these races.
Well, there's definitely some favorites, and I think your name's in that list if you want to talk about a big 3. So we'll have to see how that works out for you as we go forward. But anyone you want to thank for tonight's performance?
Yeah, you guys for the broadcast, and everybody on our team, and everybody in the league, everybody that shows up week in and week out and puts on, you know, these good races. It's fairly clean again for the most part. They always are, and people that watch the broadcast. And I want to shout out I have a couple buddies watching, and shout out to Josh, Elliott, and Steph if they're watching. Appreciate it. I think my mom's watching too, so I'll shout her out as well. So yeah, we'll see you next week at Dover, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again.
Well, I hope Mom's proud of that second place finish tonight. Looking forward to seeing you take it to Jump in these next few weeks and moving on to Dover next week. Hopefully, we'll talk to you then.
All right, have a good one, guys.
That's Jared Darling. And last but not least, I'll hand it over to Brittle for your winner.
Zach Henry, your winner tonight. It's Brittle and the boys up in the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, man, we were talking about it. You've got 3 wins on the season now, but it had been a little bit since we had seen a classic Zach Henry, just absolute domination. But that's definitely what you put on here tonight. Take us through what it was like to I mean, we were talking, everybody's been saying how it's so hard to pass here, but you didn't have to pass anybody. You had a clear view out your windshield all night long, huh?
It sure is nice, ain't it? Oh, it's nice to come back to one of these tracks that have you know, pretty decent off throttle time and a little bit of braking. I mean, you take Iowa out of the equation, the 3 tracks with brake that we use the brake pedal at, those are the 3 that I've won. So but yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than just dominating a race and finishing it off.
Yeah, man, it was. I mean, I can't speak for the rest of the league, and I doubt they'd agree with me. But it's awesome to see you back in true Zach Henry form here as we've gotten back into the playoffs here. You had a whole bunch of teammates up there with you towards the start of this race. Then they started to fall off. Were you guys talking? I assume you guys were talking all race long. You didn't have a whole lot to do up there other than just tick away laps. Were you trying to help those guys out as much as you could going through 113 laps here?
A little bit there at the start. I was watching Jordan out of the you know, rearview mirror, just kind of watching his line, see what he's doing, and Jordan did a heck of a job this race, just saving his tires. I mean, he'll be the first one to tell you he's usually got really bad long run pace, but yeah, I think he figured something out today, and I think that showed. Chris was just doing his own thing. I mean, I think we all know Chris. He just drives his own race, and if you don't have the speed, he'll run you as hard as he can to finish where he can. And ultimately, that's just kind of what they did, especially on that first run. And fortunately for me, it's just hard to pass, and I was able to build a bit of a gap before that first round of pit stops.
Yeah, you held on to it while everybody else seemed to fall off, but early on it looked like 2511 was going to have a death grip on this race. So a solid team effort from that entire camp all night long. Next week we head to Dover. We're sticking with the concrete. How are you feeling about that one? It's a little bit rougher of a track than this one. How are we feeling going into it?
Oh, I love Dover. It's probably my second or third favorite track on the service. Similar to Nashville, it's a place where I've always had a lot of speed and been able to, you know, run up front and lead laps, but I've never actually won any league race. So I mean, you say the same thing about Darlington a few weeks ago. Just hopefully it works out for me this time around. I'm expecting to be really competitive again, and that's just one of my favorite places. So I always look forward to tracks like Dover, Bristol, those kind of high banked, short track style races where you're just carrying a ton of speed through the corners.
Well, man, after tonight's performance, I feel like the entire league's got to be on red alert for you going forward here. A solid performance from you. Again, looking to carry that next week as we go into Dover here. Before we let you go, do you have anybody to thank for your awesome performance here tonight?
I always got to shout out my wife. Hopefully she was cheering me on. I think I heard the baby start screaming a little bit sometime in the middle of the race. But and then I've got some other family that's watching. My mom, dad, my sister. They usually tune in as well. The 2511 boys, Chris, Jump, Jordan, and Preston. Really strong showing across the board for us. Preston unfortunately got caught up in that wreck on lap 1, but that happens from time to time too. You guys for doing a great job in the booth, and then all the GLR admins. It's been a fun season. It's been really clean. That's not really something that I don't think anybody's really been able to bank on this season. Is if something goes wrong early, banking on a caution to come out to help make up for it. And I think it just shows how good everybody in this league has been all season long.
We've definitely all cleaned up our act, and we're putting on one of the best seasons that we've had in Great Lakes history, Zach. So thanks so much for talking to us, and good luck next week at Dover. We'll be looking for another awesome performance from you. Thanks for talking to us tonight, bud, and congratulations once again.
Thank you. Hope I talk to you guys again next week.
And with that, that'll just about wrap up our interviews here. Elliot, closing thoughts as we look to race number 3 at Dover?
Well, real quick, you can see the standings already updated here. Jump's going to come out with the points lead. No shock there with a nice top 5 finish. I've always said just top 5 to death with the chase format, and you will find yourself either with the championship or very close to it going into that finale at Homestead. So his main contention here is Jared Darling, Jackson Sims, but look at that guy 4th now. Zach came in over 20 points back. It is possible to gain points back. I know we have small fields, and a lot of guys have complained about that in recent seasons, but Zach did a heck of a job tonight to kind of like put himself back in that namesake. I didn't think there was really a chance. You can see where Shane and Ashton and those guys are still struggling down in points because they didn't have the night that they needed. And, with 5 races left, how do you knock out 28 points? You're looking at about 5+ points a race. So it's going to be hard for those guys to make those up. But for someone like Zach, you got 5 races left. That's, 3 points a race, 3 points a race, 3 points a race. And by Homestead, you're 2 points up. So it all comes down to how these guys manage these races and what they do in adversity. You can see what Jump had to deal with tonight with his little half spin. He still made it come back and ended up in the top 10, and that's going to help him later down the run. But right now, Zach's the big deal, and you can see it right there as we're going to go through the results.
We'll take you through the field one more time before we head on out here tonight. Zach Henry is your winner. An absolutely dominating form tonight. Started on pole, led the most laps, and brings it home in 1st place. Meanwhile, behind him, Jared Darling, 2nd, brings it home 2nd after starting 3rd. Wow, there's the top 3 all started there. All started in the top 3, just change them around a little bit. Solid. Really show who likes this track. Michael Senzi brings it home 3rd place, playing Mr. Spoiler himself. We'll call him because it's just been awesome to watch him tear up the playoff field tonight here. Jackson Sims, another solid performance. Sits him right smack in the middle of this point battle. He brings it home 4th. Nathan Jump, still your points leader coming out of here tonight. He brings it home with another top 5. Ashton Lawson, a solid rebound from him. Have to think what could have been between the 25 of Jump and the 26 of Ashton Lawson with those spins coming off of pit road. They bring it home 5th and 6th here in this one. Jordan Gonzalez, another non-playoff driver with a solid run tonight in the top 10. He brings it home 7th. Spencer Owens, just your regular season champion, another solid top 10 from him tonight. Chris Heller brings it home 9th after starting 4th, and Matt Durr starting in 10th and will wind up in that 10th place position.
Aiden DuPont going to wind up 11th after starting 13th. Just a nice solid run for him. Stayed out of trouble. Gavin Fitzgerald can end up 12th. A nice little comeback run for him after the struggles he's had the last few weeks. Brent Kincott didn't qualify, ends up 13th tonight. He was involved in a couple things at the beginning, but kept it all together and still ended up with a nice top 15. Robin Durr right there in 14th. Shane Nicewanger, we talked about his frustrations from the drop of the green flag off of turn 4 all the way to the end, ends up 15th. James Shiflett ends up 16th after starting towards the end of the field. Rod Fosna, 17th. Eric Kep, another playoff guy, 18th. Nicholas Caressel, all three of these guys, 18th, 19th, 20th. McConville, Caressel, and Kep either had pit stop issues or were involved in wrecks. And unfortunately, all chase guys that are going to end up right inside the top 20, not the nights they were hoping for, especially McConville coming off that win last week.
21st is Alex Fetter. He had some connection issue, or rather, was in the race all night long, and then right there at the end got involved in something. He had dropped 3 laps down. He brings it home 21st. Preston Henry had a little bit of an issue in the middle of the race. He will bring it home 22nd, and Louis Woodall, right smack at the beginning of the race, had some connection issues. He brings it home 23rd.